this is actually a start of a series that we are doing, which we are calling Angel Board Conversation. Kunal's a big philosopher as well, a friend and a guide, if I would. What's happening with AI? What are you personally thinking about it?
See, when internet happened, information got accessible through air. And when AI has happened, intelligence is available through air.
What is the next big shift you're seeing in fintech? Okay, all right. Wow,
Technology.
you got to.
Money grows when you are not trying to get very interested in it and chase it too much.
It's very hard to keep Kunal on fintech or tech. Like, it's all philosophy. Like, I want to ask you a controversial question. How much you should be working or not?
The biggest stupidity I find is that we get offended by somebody telling you should work more or less.
What is your sort of mantra for building high performance culture, especially in a dynamic environment that is there today?
I think companies can't win if every individual does not have the DNA to win or the energy to win. I think the future belongs to journalists who have a deep need to become expert in many things. What's the largest employer of the world? The real answer is inefficiency. Inefficiency is the largest employer of the world.
Okay, so this is actually a start of a series that we are doing, which we are calling Angel Bold Conversation. At Angel One, we talk a lot about being bold, and so that's why we named it Angel Bold Conversations. And we are starting it with a dear friend of mine, Kunal Shah, who all of you guys know. So he needs no introduction. So Kunal's a big philosopher as well. A friend and a guide, if I would say that. So welcome again, Kunal. I want to start with a simple question, which we talked about bold. What is bold for you?
Let's start with what's not bold, right? So if you have to think about life, if you are not taking risks and the chance of you having growth is close to zero, right? And what I have seen is that often people who have an extraordinary tendency to avoid risk end up getting left out. And I think in the world that we are living in right now, those people have extraordinary amount of disadvantage now because the world is changing at a much faster pace. So when the world is changing dramatically, if you do not take risk and do something that is audacious, the chance of you getting left out is just material now. It wasn't true probably a generation before or 2 generations before where the rate of change of the world was not so high. So you could afford to just be doing one thing and learn one thing and just pass your life and retire, right? But I think now we live in a world where I can't even predict what will happen in a year's time, right? Like any bets on that anybody makes on this will proven to be wrong, right? So I think to me, I would say bold is just about, are you having significantly higher risk appetite and therefore significantly higher judgment because you've learned from all the risks you've taken?
That makes sense. I think somebody said the biggest risk is not taking one.
Yeah, and significantly higher now.
There we go. So going into your experience, you've been building in India for 20 years, from FreeCharge to CRED, and I think you've been an entrepreneur before FreeCharge as well, from what I understand. What are some of the surprising truths or patterns you've observed about Indian consumers or our startup ecosystem?
I think first of all, it's important to understand how do we discover truth about ourselves. For example, if you ask an average Indian, they'll tell you we have the best culture in the whole world. And then you ask them, how many cultures have you studied? And they would have no answer to that. So I think often the biggest truth comes when you're contrasting it or comparing it.
Yeah.
And that's when we get to know stuff. So I think more things I've learned about Indian consumer is actually kind of going abroad, studying other markets, other patterns, and so on and so forth. For example, like if you look at the room's population is majority male, right? We take it for granted, but in most parts of the world, this is not the case, right? If you go to China or US or many other countries, the room will have an equal split. But that gives another shocker that like probably less than 10-15% of urban Indian women have any independent financial income. Now we take this for granted, but it's not the case in the world, right? For example, we take it for granted that oh, there are only 1 or 2 queues for females at the airport and 15, 20 for men. And we also don't even question that why do we have separate queues for men and women? And why do we have a curtain for women? We never question these things. But when we travel abroad, we don't see any of these things. And we don't question that why do we need to have these things for our country. We often don't realize that, for example, when I went US for the first time, what was interesting is that almost everybody who was in the, let's say, blue collar or early white collar job wasn't on hourly salary, right? In India, nobody has been paid an hourly salary, so nobody understands value of time as a concept. And therefore, like being very professional is not natural to us because the value of time as a concept is not innate to us. The word efficiency does not exist in most Indian languages. So how will
What do you call efficiency in Hindi?
there isn't a word.
Anyone?
I'm sure you can GPT it and it'll tell you something else, but there'll be no word for efficiency. So if you do not have a word, how will you live it? Vocabulary is a huge component of what human life is all about. For example, when we were growing up, like in early days, there were only 3-4 categories of what relationships could be. If you ask the younger generation, they can give you 20 different categories of relationships now. And that's a unique thing that when you learn the vocabulary, you will suffer each word of them. And that's a beautiful thing about vocabulary, that you know, when you know a word, you will see it, you will probably suffer it, it'll happen to you as well. But if we have not learned the word productivity, efficiency, then how will it happen to us? Then other things are like how generally like we tend to be low trust in nature, right? Like because there are no systems. Another interesting thing I realize is that low trust creates actually concentration of trust. For example, we always say 80-20, but in low trust market is 95-5. For example, 30 people in Bollywood control 95% of all revenue, right? Nepotism sort of works because like you are trusting the same brand doing more stuff, and therefore you see a large company do 25 products, you will use it. So Tata, you will use the salt also and their car also and their furniture also because you just create concentration of trust. And that happens when strong institutions don't exist. For example, in the US, if you have a fall, you can easily think about suing them and making money off them. In India, when you have a fall, you're just worried about how will I pay for it, right? So you don't even think about suing the place that you had a fall, right? If an accident happens on the road, we don't think about suing the government for doing something.
Yeah.
So I think that causes a very interesting society, right? For example, all of us have put a filter at home, but everywhere in the world, tap water is drinkable. I think there's just a simple things that makes you question. For example, so I think it's just this contrast of these things. And the last thought is we are interestingly divided as a country that the uniting factors are actually not from India. For example, this group is unified by a language that is not from India. Otherwise, what language would I speak for every single person to understand? Let's say we have an office party. What kind of food do we order? Pizza, not from India. Biryani, not from India. Samosa, not from India. Chai, not from India. Coffee, not from India. When we think about the sport that unites us, not from India. So just a interesting thing that how you think about a country and how it evolves. It's quite fascinating that we have always had neutral things like this that unite us.
Yeah, lots of hard-hitting truths there. One of the theories, you have lots of theories and frameworks. One of the theories that I quote a lot of times and I really like, I think it's your theory, but if it's from somewhere else, tell us, is the Delta 4 theory. What is that theory? How did that come about, and why does it work? Everybody knows Delta 4 theory here?
How many of you know about the theory?
Delta 4, how many of you? Okay, that's me then.
Cool. Okay. It's funny. Delta 4 theory is now part of a lot of analysts onboarding at many VCs in the US. But it's funny that in India, we are still like sort of still figuring out what the theory is about. And I wrote that in 2015. So it's been 10 years of that. So the theory is very actually simple. I was very curious that I had the largest exit and I'm a philosophy major. And it made me question that how is that even possible? Like how can somebody from not this background have the largest tech exit. Something must be off about this, and made me curious about what kind of companies work and not work. And between the companies, I was obsessing about chemistry, physics, biology, all sorts of things, and going deep into many things. And I figured out that how species kind of work and how evolution works and all of that. And some of the principles kind of added up, and I just kind of came up with a theory which sort of still works on products. So the simple framework is that, actually, let me do that. Like, how many, can you imagine, any of you imagine a product or service that was more efficient 10 years ago? Any product or service that was more efficient 10 years ago? Any guesses? Postal system was more efficient, do you think?
Then now,
No, it's still very efficient. I don't think it's the same, I guess.
Maybe it's less relevant.
Relevant, efficient.
Very few things, I think, because
It's
of the
impos-
experience curve, right?
It's impossible to find anything efficient in the past. All the efficiency exists in the future. In fact, look at every AI model. The efficiencies in the future are not in the past. And if I asked you this question of 100 years, then you will say, obviously, like, in fact, anybody who from, let's say, 1925 saw us, they will think we are gods, right? We order food, it shows up in 10 minutes. We speak to anybody, we fly anywhere. They will think we are absolute gods, right? And that's what the human experience is about, the efficiency delta. So I think if you have to take that principle and say, how do you predict what is going to be more successful? So if you think about, all wealth is stuck between inefficiency and efficiency, right? So previous product is inefficient, new product is efficient. Any time you cross that, but there's a delta that you have to cross to get to the next efficiency. So let's take an example. Let's do the relevant example. Doing research without GPT internet way before versus GPT, how would you rate it on 10? Efficiency of doing research with GPT, without GPT on 10. Any answers? What would you rate them? And what would you tell for internet? 3 or 4?
10 for GPT.
Yeah. 10 on 10. When this just for benchmarking is that. Between the two is greater than or equal to 4. You will see 3 things happen. 1, it is irreversible behavior. You can't go back to that. 2, very high tolerance. If GPT is not accurate, you like, screw it, I'm going to go to internet and start doing my research. No, you're not going to do that. 3rd, it has got something called a UBP, unique brag-worthy proposition. Every time humans discover a delta 4, they tell everyone about it. And those products need no ads, right? How many of you downloaded ChatGPT because you saw an ad of it?
I haven't seen one.
Yeah, so whenever delta 4 happens, humans as a species have done well because we are extraordinary at creating delta 4 products and also spreading the delta 4 products, right? You must have taught your parents, you must have told everyone, and you can't stop bragging about it. In fact, if you meet somebody who's not done ChatGPT, the first thing you'll do is demo of ChatGPT, right? And therefore, delta 4 is what creates wealth. A simple example is, let's say many of the people are wearing glasses in this room. Let's say if AK invents a pill in Angel 1, which allows people to lose their glasses and also get, I don't know, extraordinary vision better. How much money would he make?
Vision physical or just visionary?
Everything, anything that you can imagine it to be. Yeah, so the thing is that the moment you create the thing, it just becomes significantly better. But there are not everything in technology is delta 4. So let's understand another example. Imagine trying to get a wedding outfit offline and online. Like online option has hundreds of them. Offline you go to a store. What is the delta of that on 10?
offline
How much? What will be the score? Can you give the score for offline versus online?
2 was safe.
What is 2?
For the only
2 offline is 2 for you.
no, sorry, only for 2 say
Okay, understood. Anyone else? Similar stuff. So whenever the delta is, by the way, this is interesting. It is still technology, And therefore, 99% of startups fail because they create digital, but no efficiency is created. So whenever delta is not greater than equal to 4, three things happen. You are absolutely reversible. One bad experience, I'm never going to go buy shirts online or all of that. Like we just give up. Very low tolerance and there is no bragworthiness. But more importantly, you can actually increase the delta by saying 50% discount online. Then you will say, okay, let me consider it a little bit. But it's still not, as soon as the cashback is gone, you reverse the old behavior, right? So that's the framework. But the net summary is that you can actually predict most startup success by using this framework. You have to define what behavior is changed. If it's not delta 4, it will not happen, right? And almost every startup can be analyzed from at least this framework. So most startups, most tech companies make it efficient to solve an existing motivation. And it is impossible to create new motivation in human beings. Our motivations are the same. In fact, I'll tell you a funny story. I once had an astrologer reach out to me. And was running a very successful business. Had a call center, was making like from 25, 30 crores a month running that. And he had built a call center that you can, so he would come on television, you would see him, then you give the phone number, he reaches his call center and basis this astrologer, you can get the predictions done. And he showed me all this beautiful system and I was like, great. And he's like, I run a call center on a SaaS software, cloud-based. And I saw this thing and he showed me whenever a customer calls, we let the agent select one of the questions and they basis this, but the basis of the kundli, the answer is, my answer is given and they just verbalize the answer. And then we cross-sell some products for curing the problem that they have, whatever. The point is, the drop-down only had 10 questions. So I asked him, but what if somebody has other questions? Well, that nobody has any other questions.
Awesome. What were the 10 questions now? I'm curious.
That's exactly. So if you think about human motivation, it's like a little bit like Gangotri. It starts with very big flow and then it goes into small rivers and streams after that. For example, I want to get good shoes. Let's say a motivation. But then what is the motivation of the good shoe? I want to look good. I want to feel comfortable. Then you go further.
Yeah.
Then you want to have status. You want to be attractive to the other partner. And then you go to core. Then the core motivations remain the same. Right? Same thing. Oh, why do you want to find a new job? Like, oh, I want to earn more. Why do you want to earn more? Oh, probably I'll get married. Oh, why do you want to get married? Oh, I want to have kids. Why do you want to have kids? That's a core biological need. So everything, if you do the 5I method, you will reach the core human motivation. And to me, the astrologer just had those things. For example, how will I find a job? How will I find somebody to get married? Oh, this person's relationship is not working out for whatever reasons. My mother-in-law, father has some issues. I want to go abroad. Like the same things. And therefore, when we watch soap opera, whatever, it works consistently every now and then for every TV because the human problems are the same. And so I think human problems are not changed. The efficiency through which we deliver the solutions have changed. I think that's the loop to think about.
Taxi was old, Uber is new.
Exactly. So the thing just, like for example, we all have experienced new Waymo. You can't go back to Uber after experiencing Waymo, right? That self-driving car, unless your fear is very high. But then data will come and say, hey, significantly safer than human driver, then you will start trusting it more and more.
I love to hear about evolution and stuff from Kunal. I don't know if you remember in Dubai, we took this ride on the bus and we talked about evolution. Actually, he recommended a book. I think it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
I found it quite interesting, which is What Did Darwin Teach Me About Investing?
Yeah.
This is about Naranda Capital. So I think
Correct.
If you're interested in that, that could be very interesting. Going back to, again, FinTech, stuff that we do. It's gone from digitizing payments to building wealth platforms to now offering credit at scale. What is the next big shift you're seeing in FinTech?
The core human motivations remain the same. People make money. They want to find a way to make more money. They want to spend efficiently. They want to use that money in efficient ways to do things. And I classified two types of transactions in human life: boring transactions and interesting transactions. Boring transactions are like, fueling your car, charging your phone, paying a bill. All of these are boring transactions, and we like to spend least amount of money and time on those transactions.
Like chores and everyday tasks.
So those type of transactions, I see them disappearing post GPT world. That an agent will just manage it because, like, dekh lo, like whatever, right? But interesting transactions, I think humans want agency on. For example, planning a vacation, picking an outfit, spending time with children, reading something interesting, watching a movie, and so on and so forth. So I see that human time and money spent on boring transactions going down, and human time on interesting transactions going up. By the way, in wealth, what I have seen is that the moment you get interested in that transaction, the wealth goes away from you, right? So
You want to make it boring.
yeah, I think everybody will teach you who has made a lot of money that money grows when you are not trying to get very interested in it and chase it too much, right? And trying to tweak it too much.
I mean, Warren Buffett is a classic example.
Yeah, multiple examples, right? I think, but the core problem of wealth is people get extremely entertained by it, and it becomes an interesting transaction. So I think I foresee that more and more people will move in the direction of making wealth boring for themselves, which make monetization challenge happen over there, because so far the structural monetization of wealth platforms comes from entertaining part of the transaction and not the boring part of it.
But I mean, I feel that if you create value for consumers, some value can come back to whoever creates
I'm
value.
just saying that the structural incentives are misaligned right now, which should change. But I believe the consumer behavior will go in that direction. Because a lot of people who come for the first time in investing, they're like, oh my God, this is so interesting. I want to be able to do things. And then you just give it up and do to somebody else, right? So it's a matter of time that you graduate through these journeys. I do believe that.
By the way, we have an AMC that does phenomenal passive funds if you're interested.
Absolutely. I don't do any stocks or mutual funds in my life.
I'm going to come back to that because that's a very interesting question we don't have written down here.
Yeah, but I think the nuance of this is that if you see this, I believe that, and I also foresee that as the world gets more chaotic, I think humans will demonstrate barbell behavior, which means they will go either super safe or super risky.
Yeah.
I think the middle paths will start becoming blurry, because what has happened to the world is that either we are super scared or we are super FOMO, and both will cause these behaviors.
Well, because you touched on this, I want to go to that. I think I remember you telling me that you never invest in stocks, you invest in real estate.
I have some real estate to keep me safe. That if I look
Where do you keep all this money? Like, where do you keep it?
No, I just invest in startups. I've invested in a lot of startups. I think my logic is to pay it forward in some ways. That all the wealth I've got through startup ecosystem, you pay it forward in some ways. You don't need much money in life. I live simply. I move around in a Vespa scooter in Nagar, and I'm very happy being in that zone. I just feel that if you increase the OPEX of your life, automatically you start getting into other things that kind of keep you away from the risk. I think another thing about risk is I was doing a research on ChatGPT, and that what is common in all these animals or species that survive for more than 100 million years. And it was fascinating. It found 2-3 points. One of the points was ability to adjust metabolism at will. Like they can suddenly go high calorie, low calorie intake more, or burn. Adaptation to any weather or anything that is happening, right? And very high conversion rate on when they strike, right? So when they try to go for the food, the calorie burn for acquiring a food is very high conversion rate. For example, a crocodile is mostly silent, but when it hits, has the deadliest bite. Right, so it's an interesting thing to study in how this results in species surviving for 100 million plus years. So if you think like that you do few things, but when you do them really well, and your conversion rate is high. And if you look at a very technical definition of a predator, which is the top of the food chain, is the one that burns the least amount of calories to earn the most amount of calories. And if you think about it, like if you see attractiveness of a person to be, let's say you want to consider a gender wants to marry another gender and you want to pick the thing, they will also look for the same trait that the value of the person will change its basis. How much effort do they need to make money?
Interesting.
So sometimes people give me an exception, oh, but Virat Kohli has to work so hard to make money, but actually he makes more money in ads where he hardly works.
Yeah. I'm sure per minute it's very different for him.
Exactly. But the thing is that nuance is that if you start thinking on this metric, productivity, efficiency, energy, conversion, then a lot of things make sense.
Got it. It's very hard to keep Kunal on FinTech or tech. Like, it's all philosophy. Like, I think I told some of you that our conversations are mostly philosophy and health. But maybe we'll keep you on AI because I remember having this breakfast with you in Mumbai and we had our ASM going on at that time. And we couldn't do that, but he had offered to come and speak with us about it. And so I wanted to pick your brain now. Kunal is using AI in a big way. Like, what's happening with AI? What are you personally thinking about it? How's your work, teams, companies, how is it changing and what should people be doing?
The largest, actually, let me ask you guys, what's the largest employer of the world?
Indian Railways?
Indian Railways? The real answer is inefficiency. Inefficiency is the largest employer of the world, and it is going away very quickly. Which means the following: a lot of people will have to retrain themselves for the next job because the previous job has already been done by AI. Let me give you an example. Back in 2004, I used to run a teleradiology company also. One of the many things I did, where I got X-rays and MRIs from the US to be read by radiologists in India. And cost arbitrage was huge because the cost of doing that in the US is much more. Indian doctors were able to do it at a fraction of cost and they had significantly higher experience because they read, 20x more because of the volume of India, right? And for some regulatory reasons, we could not scale that business because privacy of data, all of that stuff was not solved that time. Today, I think probably any of the current models can beat 95% of radiologists on reading. And just to give you a sense, some of these doctors take 15 to 17 years to get to that level of perfection to be able to read these images. So, for the first time, I'm seeing that whatever took deep expertise to get to a level of status is now becoming commoditized. Which means I think the generalist might be able to leverage themselves much more better because their challenge of not going able to do deep now will be able to kind of leverage. And for the first time, see, when internet happened, information got accessible through air.
Yeah.
And when AI has happened, intelligence is available through air. Right? And I think that framework of how to think will materially change humanity.
Yeah.
Now, because I said inefficiency is the largest employer, we have to start thinking that how do we forget about the company, forget about all the other things. How do we stay relevant? So one of the biggest things I think is that if now you have an excuse of not learning fast enough and not becoming great at everything that you do and becoming significantly better almost every 3 to 6 months, I think we're all at risk, right? I have a strong belief that the shelf life of companies are going to shrink now because we're going to move faster and faster. In fact, there is enough data that shows that time that companies stay in the top 100 is now shrinking dramatically every 10 years. And I think it's going to happen even more faster, which creates an interesting thing because I don't think our parents or their parents had to really constantly learn new things every 3-5 years. Now, all the skills are relevant. And we forget that it was not too long ago internet came, not too long ago phones came, right? And not too long ago, and now we treat AI as we just treat it like it just exists. So I think my view is that organizations will fundamentally change. For example, we used to define these roles as back end, front end. Do they make sense anymore? Will we have a separate QA role? Or will it be an agent that does QA? Will we AI to do security better than humans? or security checks better than humans? Will we trust some of the functions to be done? For example, coding is already, I think, cost to write one line of code is already dropped by probably 90% already. I got to know recently in my US trip that 50% of Stanford com science graduates don't have a job.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And it was the most common joke I heard is that everybody's getting a call that, oh, can you help me place my kid? This is Stanford com science.
Wow.
So I think India is still to feel that wave because it takes time for some of these things to come to India. Good news is that we have the youngest population who are already using AI, but I think the productive users is not much yet. We are still using it for personal reasons like relationship chats and what do you think I should do and all that stuff. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
People are using it for that.
Nobody will raise hand for that. You should never do surveys on these topics.
Okay, learn something there.
There's a reason people smiled at it. But people are not using it for productive purposes yet.
That's a productive purpose.
Depends. It will not make you earn more, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it will not make you earn more.
It'll get you partners.
I don't know. I think it's going to get harder and harder. The world is going to go through, the birth rate is tanking, the relationship statistics are all haywire. Young people are significantly struggling to be in relationships. So it's a very complex world now because the world has become insanely more dynamic, exciting, and rapidly changing that committing to duty feels almost scary now. So the world is going through a very unique challenge. For example, birth rate. I have a strong hypothesis that like heavy users of internet or AI will have significantly lower birth rate. Because
It has to do with like dopamine and
no, it's just like how do you do like to be able to commit to having a kid or raising a kid, you need to be like having some parts of your life kind of calming down. But right now you are like, oh, what do I worry about my job? I have an EMI, I need to buy this, I need to travel. Oh shit, I need to see the world before the world ends. All of that stuff starts kicking in, right? For example, like COVID got people to travel like mad. It came from the same trigger that, oh shit, life is fragile. I better be seeing like what's the purpose of all this work if I can't even enjoy my life and so on and so forth. So you'll see all sorts of unique behaviors, and social media drives another thing that we mimic other people. Like for example, imagine you're sitting at work and going on Instagram and like, oh, Maldives or Philippines or idhar gaya, ye match dekh raha hai. And you're like, shit, what am I doing with my life? Because nobody's posting at work, no, on social media. So that was content that people were like, oh shit, why am I not working? Everybody seems to be working on social media. So people don't show their boring parts of their life on social media.
everybody's happy on social media.
Yeah, or interesting on social media.
That isn't. But bringing you back to like, I think, like I said, like I think it's just amazing. The conversation with Kunal is amazing because it actually gets to philosophy. And Nick Newton was a natural philosopher. You are a techno philosopher.
Well, philosophy is love for knowledge. So
There you go.
it does mean to that. Everything leads to philosophy.
What kinds of things are you doing at CRED, for example, to make it more efficient, and where are you on that spectrum?
Yeah, so I think few things that we have done is almost I think 6 months ago made an announcement that we're going to be AI first org. We never go into this whole let's fire people and all that. We don't want to do that. We've just mandated people to kind of really get into that. We are rethinking how we should do interviews now. For example, AK, you will remember this time people used to write in resume, internet also, and MS Excel and MS Word. All of these things should be there. I think AI is going to be that.
PC also was there.
Seriously, yeah. Data entry used to be a thing also people used to write, which means people knew how to write on keyboard. That was an actual skill. I think very soon it will be mandatory to get people who are extraordinary at using AI. Because you do not, it's like a species divide now. People who can use AI well and can't use AI well. Hiring people who can't use AI well is almost a liability for the org now. Same thing with appraisals. We want to start thinking about how to do about that. In some functions, we are going deep and saying how do we get to our productivity, create incentive structures to enhance that creativity or productivity. Take functions who have nothing to do with AI to tell them what are you doing about AI, and forcing. And sometimes what happens is the senior guy is not the right person. There's going to be a 26-year-old who's like, natural.
Yeah.
You tell them to lead the way and move that function to AI. So I think we are trying to rethink org structures, rethink interview, rethink appraisals, rethink promotions, rethink org design altogether. For example, we are wondering if it makes sense to have front end, back end, QA, all that stuff. Should there be just a engineer now and let AI agents do most of the work for them? In terms of we have still not launched features for consumers yet. We are waiting for a lot of the market to settle down because we don't want to be like, oh, launch something and it becomes irrelevant very quickly. The rate of change is too quick right now to commit to a consumer feature right now. So we have not done, but internally we're changing a lot of things. But I think the core insight is we do not want anybody in the company who's not extraordinary at using AI to become hyper productive at whatever they are supposed to do.
But
That's
is there
the key mandate.
is there one specific tool or use case that you're finding most interesting right now?
I just feel general productivity thinking is just working out well versus saying this tool, that thing. You're saying, okay, you're doing this legal function, how can you make it half the time? And then you say, figure it out.
Got
But I think what is the beautiful thing about humans is that humans do extraordinary things when you put constraints. I think this is the exact time to put extraordinary constraints on people, saying that, for example, we've had like significant amount of revenue growth in the last 3.5 years. Our headcount is flat. So that's another thing that you just realize that people can do so much more when you say there is no more people coming.
Yeah, makes sense. I think talking of productivity, there's a lot of talk of high performance cultures, and you at least at some point you said how high performing teams need to be chaos loving as well. What is your sort of mantra for building high performance culture, especially in a dynamic environment that is there today?
I don't think I actually said that they should be chaos loving. My general view is that the world is extremely chaotic and you need to be able to operate with extraordinary judgment and speed in this chaotic world, right? And those people who are not scared of chaos will do well in this world, right? If you are scared of chaos, this world is very scary because you don't know. Like few weeks ago, we had a war. Then something else might show up, and like we had COVID not too long ago, and we have AI not too long ago that shows up, and all of this is happening too quickly. And I'm 46 now, and it took me. I did not have that frequency of so many big things happening in my life as they're happening in the last few years. So for younger people, it's like, oh, this is like crazy world that they're entering in right now. So what I mean is that if you are naturally good at managing chaos, I think you are going to be doing well. When it comes to high performance, it's very simple. I think companies can't win if every individual does not have the DNA to win or the energy to win. If they are coming with a survivalistic mindset, then the company is unlikely to survive.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I want to ask you a controversial question. There's all this controversy about how much you should be working or not. And so I'll pull you into that as well. Do you have a sort of not really into that controversy, but do you have sort of a mantra or a culture of saying, look, number of hours or not, or what should be sort of the philosophy around work and work ethics in your mind?
It is sort of stupid to prescribe this to anyone on what they should be doing. Imagine me going to a place where all the athletes who are training for Olympics are working out and training. And I tell them, I think you should have a work-life balance and not train so much. Like, what is my moral authority to tell them? Similarly for people's careers. What if somebody wants to be extraordinarily ambitious? Who am I to tell them not to work on weekends?
But to the athletes, to that, maybe analogies don't stretch that far. You might say that you've got to have a recovery time. Don't train too hard, otherwise you might injure yourself.
Yeah, I think that's a fair one. We are not talking about inhuman ways. I'm just saying that, for example, I can't do weekday weekends. I like to work at a stretch and take a break. I can't function on this human design system of weekday weekends. I can't. And that's my system. I would not want to prescribe that, oh, why don't you do the same thing? work like crazy for 60 days and then take a week off. It
I-
doesn't work.
I had a friend in IIT Kanpur who used to be like this, who'd be awake for 36 hours and then sleep for 12 hours.
Yeah.
And he just do that over and over again. He's like, who prescribed this 24-hour one day?
Yeah, who comes up with this? So I think it's about what works for you and what's your ambition. But I think trying to over prescribe and over standardize is a problematic thing. For example, AK, you have also worked in the US and worked in India. We have 5 days a week also. We have all these festivals also. We have all these other leaves also and all of that. So in terms of days we work as professionals is significantly lesser anyways already. So the thing is that we want only cherry pick. We want 5 days a week, but how many days US has holidays? 5? That's what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is that we tend to confuse what is important. So India was always 6 days a week and lots of festivals.
Well, growing up, actually, my school was 6 days a week.
Yeah, everything was 6 days a
On
week.
Sunday morning, I used to watch He-Man. I don't know if you...
Correct, all of us. The nuance is that if this was the norm, and my thing is, as a country, we are so poor. The per capita income is like $2,500. And we are worrying about concepts before getting affluent. I'm just saying that, okay, did any country become rich through work-life balance? Is the question I have for you.
Got it. I have your answer. Actually, when we talk about well-being, my definition isn't about working less or more. My definition of well-being is feeling well about your being. You know, are you feeling good about your existence?
Yeah.
And different people will have different ways they feel.
And I think the biggest stupidity I find is that we get offended by somebody telling you should work more or less. How are we so easy to offend? Like some guy said something on Twitter, so we're like, oh, like it becomes a big problem.
Got it.
Like, I think one more reason I prescribe entrepreneurship people in India, that's how we learn how to mind our own business.
Literally. All right. So one of the things I know you've lost tremendous amount of weight. Last time I saw you, you've lost even more. I mean, so congratulations. And you are, you are into a little bit sort of thinking a lot about health, happiness, life. What is your philosophy? I know last time, probably we met, maybe before we met in Mumbai, you had Brian Johnson over here for a dinner. How do you think about health and happiness? Like, what is your mantra?
Yeah, I think happiness is a very unique concept. Happiness comes from wanting things that you already have. And wanting things that already have will never make humans achieve anything.
You're saying happiness is about wanting things that you
Happiness
already have.
comes from deeply desiring all the things that you already have.
Okay, I don't get that.
Which is called contentment.
Got it.
Right? But human success comes from deeply disliking all the things that we already have and wanting better. So I think it's a category that you can choose for yourself, but I think I don't think if you meet no other species thinks about happiness. Only humans are constantly worried about, am I happy, not happy? We have a life, we're going to do whatever, we're going to pass, it's going to happen. And I think if we do something that makes our life interesting, I think it's a much better benchmark for me.
Yeah.
Because interesting people usually have people around them who keep them happy.
Got it. So you don't think that much about happiness per se. You think about being interesting.
Yeah. In terms of health, I do believe that there is an opportunity to enjoy the world that's going to dramatically become better over a period of time. And I think there's a serious chance of being able to live much longer than our parents or people in that generation lived. I think it's good to kind of stay, and now all the knowledge is out there. Earlier, we didn't know much. All sorts of nonsense was fed to us, and I think now information and GPT kind of telling you what you're doing, I think you can improve it a lot. How many of you have tried uploading your blood report or whatever? And
If somebody had to get one mantra for health from you, like just that one thing, if I just want to change that one thing in my life.
I think sleep. I have seen the highest ROI come from that.
Agree.
Everything else is like Pareto.
Is that pretty good? You're wearing a Whoop?
I'm wearing a Whoop. I also have a ring which I'm charging right now. But I somehow do multiple things. I get obsessed about things, so I track multiple things.
So for sleep
I also have a CGM.
I saw
I've been
that.
wearing for last 3 years.
Is sleep get better with tracking? Because I met somebody this morning who said, actually, I stopped tracking sleep because I got too.
These are the exact same people who get offended by other people also. I'll tell you why. Why does something else and something else's opinion matter? Like it's a measurement, right? If you feel sad by looking at your weighing scale, then you're a sensitive person.
All right. Sleep. So I think, and I'm a big fan of sleep as well. If you're into, I seriously, actually, in fact, a while back, I used to think that if I slept, I wasted time. Nowadays, when I sleep, I feel like I've been productive. Highly recommend reading one book called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. Best book I have ever read. After that,
Or you can get a chat GPT summary on.
he's definitely crossed over to the AI side, and ChatGPT is the brand.
Nobody's gonna read anyways. I mean, once if you go back, you can at least read 10 points on the book. That's better outcome.
Yeah, no, there you go. We have some questions from employees as well. Kunal, you emphasize winning customer trust heavily. How do you balance building that deep trust with the pressure to scale rapidly and grow the customer base?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Trust is a slow currency. It doesn't happen naturally. In India, we naturally mistrust Indian companies and naturally trust globally companies, right? So, for example, a lot of people say, "Oh, CRED, it takes all the data, all of that stuff," but Google is an ads company, right? And we don't question that to Google, right? And I think we naturally bias ourselves to trusting much more powerful people, right? Because if you think about it, it sort of makes sense from an evolutionary perspective that this company is so big, mera kya karega, right? Mera data leke kya karega, right? But a small company, where you see the person, you're like, oh, this guy, like, so envy is like Wi-Fi. It works in a hyper local ways. We can't envy Elon Musk. He's too out of radius for us, right? So it's very easy to mock Kunal Shah, अरे Twitter पे उसको कुछ गाली दे दिया, whatever. It's easy, right? Because it's an hyper local network. Like why is this guy giving us gyan also? And people hate that also, by the way. Like people who follow me also will say, "Arey, why you?" I said, "Why you following somebody?" But the thing is that, but it's interesting how we react to some of these things. So trust, we naturally trust very very big companies. जिसके बड़ा बड़ा building होता है, we trust them. Big brand, we trust. And the thing that comes on high growth is that if you do not do consistently right things, and the trust ka epicenter is your own team. If your own team doesn't believe that we are doing right by the customer all the time, nobody in the outside world will believe it. It's very simple, no? Let's say one of your employees goes out for a dinner thing with 8 friends. And it's easy to say, "Arey, my boss is absolute crook, does this, or we stole this, we did this, all that." It becomes very interesting. And remember one thing, human need to be interesting is the core principle that will not go away. So at a dinner, what makes it interesting? Saying that, oh, we have this boring guy who talks about customer centricity all the time, this, that, nobody will care about it. But you say, oh, we did this and we took this data and sold it to some guy, it becomes an interesting story. It will reach everywhere, right? So
Do not do that.
no, but that's the thing, right? For example, the natural thing to do is to mistrust. But India is a default mistrust country. Never forget that, right? Like you have to earn your trust over and over and over again, right? But it starts with your team. If your team trusts you or not.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing. So while you're growing fast, if the core team doesn't trust that we follow our principles or have any values, we take shortcuts, we hurt the customer, do things. For example, Just as an example, we decided that we will not launch many products that we would not give to our family or friends. Right? So, for example, we were told by investors, oh, you can make a lot of money by doing FNO, this, that. We said, we'll not do it. Because would I recommend this to a friend and family? The answer is absolutely no. So, that's the principle we took. And many products we do not launch to external world till 80% of employees use it first. So, just a simple principles that drives trust in some ways.
Makes sense. I think you talked about trust being a slow currency. And I remembered something somebody said, which said, it takes 20 years to build trust and one day to destroy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And interestingly, slow currencies come at the cost of slow currencies. So let me explain what I mean by that. So let's say muscle is a slow currency, reputation is a slow currency, trust is a slow currency, wealth is a slow currency. It comes always, health is a slow currency. Each currency grows through sacrifice of the other currencies. So you'll have to sacrifice a little bit of health to make wealth, a little bit of wealth to earn reputation, a little bit of trust to do something. So there's an interchange between the slow currencies that causes us to grow.
Next question is, how do you ensure that teams are driven and see the organization's goal as their own? Are there specific rituals, feedback loops, or incentive structures you have found effective in aligning individual motivation with company vision? Very, very relevant. I think I see this all the time.
That's a very, very good question. First of all, I read an interesting quote by Steve Jobs saying that it's impossible to teach people to be hardworking. They're either hardworking or they are not. I think similarly, it is impossible to make people ambitious. They're either there or they are not. It's very hard to influence ambition. Similarly, I think if you have people who like winning, it's easy to create a new game for them. Right? Imagine anybody plays sport over here? Like, okay. I have to ask you a question, AK, that which sport do you play regularly?
If you can call it a sport, I guess. But I used to play. I'm pretty good at table tennis. I think
table tennis. Okay, let's table tennis.
I'll beat everybody here. How about
okay,
that?
Good, perfect, good. That's good. Somebody should challenge him.
Absolutely.
Let's say if I told you that, hey, we are gonna now start doing a completely new sport, a board game, you will naturally feel the need to win.
Yeah.
That's what the drive comes from. The game can change. And by the way, the interesting part about these people is they don't lose momentum. Think about gully cricket, right? Let's say we're playing gully cricket and suddenly say, ye wall pe out, right? Gully cricket has these rules, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly say, no, now this is not out. Now this is out.
One tip, one hand.
One tip is one hand is out. Do they lose momentum? No, they just start playing and winning again.
Yeah.
So those people are natural at adapting to the game. So I think first is, you can't make some of these things happen. There is innate traits in people, right? It's hard to coach these things. You can enhance these things that people have in an innate manner by saying that, AK, not just this thing, you can beat Bangalore. Like, I can motivate you to do that.
That'd be harder, but here we try.
Yeah, but the thing is, that is a significantly easier role I can play.
Yeah.
Versus saying that, why don't you have the need to win? You see the axis that I'm operating on. So I think in terms of cultures, ritual, I think communication is a very huge thing. Communicating goals very clearly, communicating the score regularly. So people who like winning like to achieve that. But if they don't know what their role is causing that score to move, then they don't like it. So they need to know, okay, what did I do that caused this to move?
It's a bit of this sort of flow concept almost, like.
Yeah, flow concept, or like I'm feeling important to achieve that, right? Even if you are, I don't know, a customer support executive, right? If you say that, oh, I improved this metric which caused this to this and this went up. For example, customer support quality went up, churn went down, revenue went up, oh, we are winning. Or we have the best customer support. Like, you to create these goals that people can relate to in their local maxima.
Makes sense. Last question, and then I'll have a wrap. What's your mental model for solving user pain points? Could you walk us through it step by step? How you approach identifying, understanding, and addressing them?
Yeah. First of all, it's a problematic concept, pain points. every single thing in human life is pain points. For example, nobody thought about research as my pain point till ChatGPT came along and said, oh my God, how painful the previous thing is. So pain is something that is felt in hindsight in human life. Only when we experience something efficient. For example, many of us would have flown for the first time, like we were not all born rich probably, I'm assuming, and grew early days, right? Like first time I flew, I was probably 23, 24, 25.
Same here,
Yeah.
actually, yeah.
Now, then train felt insanely inefficient and painful. But before that, it was perfectly fine. But that time, let's say, being able to go in, humans find everything painful, and the reason we dominate as a species because we are perpetually unsatisfied.
So thank you so much again. I think this has been phenomenal. One last question for you. If you could share one piece of advice with Angel One employees, no matter what their role is, to thrive in this sort of rapidly changing world. You sort of scared all of us, and rightly so, because the world is changing very fast. What can they do to adapt?
I would say that it's amazing to be young in this time. People like AK and I should be worried more than you.
Yeah, I'm pretty,
Relatively speaking. He'll beat you at table tennis, maybe not at other things in life. The nuance is, I think if you become extraordinary at adapting, extraordinary at learning, life is going to be fun. And success is relative. Everybody finds different things to be a good milestone to achieve. But I would say that being inert or passive with life is probably the worst thing you can do right now. Because I see the rapidly changing world keeping a lot of people behind. I would just say that play the sport more actively and don't worry about all these labels of work-life balance, this, that, all of that. Enjoy everything that you're doing.
Good. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kunal. Really, really appreciate the time. And I can see, I think everybody was just spellbound listening to you. I was. And I learned a lot in the process. I hope we get an opportunity to bring you back again and learn from what's happened and test some of these theories that you've talked about. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.